Hello friends! Welcome back to my channel. My name is Mal. I'm the owner and maker of Made by MANIANDMAL, and I'm back for another 12 days of Christmas video. In this video, we are going to be making a farmhouse themed tumbler. This is my favorite kind of like color scheme, pattern combo. I just really love it. I just love the vibes. So I really hope that you enjoy the video. I hope it inspires you. And if you like it, make sure you give it a thumbs up and make sure you are subscribed to my channel so you don't miss any new videos. Okay, I hope you enjoy. Let's go! We're starting with a 20-ounce skinny straight powder-coated white tumbler from Craft Haven. So we're going to take this out of the box and get started. I took a sheet of clear buffalo check vinyl from Gracefully Created and just cut a little strip out. You do get a full 12 by 12 sheet, and I just cut out the size that I wanted, basically. I cut back one little piece of the backing, and I'm going to place this right in the middle of my cup so that we can start to build our 50-50 split. So here what I'm doing is just making sure that the pattern is going to line up correctly. The backing is on my vinyl except for that one little square that I'm using kind of as my anchor to make sure everything is going to line up right. With patterns like this, like plaids, stripes, things that need to line up perfectly, it's really worth it in the end to take the extra time to make sure everything is going to line up properly. With florals and other kind of busier patterns, you don't need to worry as much, but with things like this, you definitely want to take the extra time. So I wrapped this vinyl just about halfway around the cup, cut off the backing, and then wrapped around again with the backing on to make sure that I was still on track and that everything was going to line up properly. So once I got to the end, I took the rest of the backing off, and now I'm going to try to place this down by hand. So I'm going to lift this up and kind of reposition it and just try to get those squares to line up perfectly. And right where they start to overlap, I'm going to take my craft knife and just trim off that excess. So we're left with a seamless pattern. You really can't see where the seam is. I was pretty proud of that. So just take your time. It is worth it in the end to take the extra step and make sure that you've got this lined up straight. Ooh, look at that. Oh, I'm so happy. So what I'm going to do now is take some blue painter's tape and just tape off the bottom portion of my cup so that we can get it ready for glitter. We're going to use acrylic paint as the base coat for the glitter as well as the adhesive for the glitter. So we're going to do this in like one step. I'm going to put on a pretty even, thick-ish coat. The coverage is not fantastic with this paint, but all I really wanted to do was just tint the bottom of this so that Coachella could pick up that aqua color. And you'll see Coachella is beautiful, by the way. It's going to just kind of tint a little bit to this aqua side and start to pull those teal colors in this base paint, if that makes sense. And then once I've got Coachella down, I'm going to go back in with Audrey, which is the teal color that we are wanting. This is an extra fine, and I'm just going to cover the entire bottom portion of the cup to help reinforce that aqua color that we're going for. Using an extra fine after a chunky is going to fill in all of those gaps, and in something like this, that Audrey color is really going to help us achieve the color that we are wanting. So right after glittering, I'm going to very, very carefully pull off my tape, and then when the paint was dry, I waited about an hour. I did go in and seal it with the glitter glue from Crystalac, and I waited 2 hours for that to totally dry, and now I'm ready to add my decal work to the top portion of the cup. And for the decals on the top of the cup, I decided to make this little tree template. I took this little tree SVG and I just arranged them to the size of the top half of the cup, and I spaced them out and cut them all out and wanted to apply it all in one piece versus applying each tree one by one. So I put one big piece of transfer tape on, and now I'm cutting off all of the excess, so I'm just left with the portion that's going to wrap around our cup. And I'm going to essentially use the hinge method and treat this like a vinyl wrap. So what I'm going to do first is just make sure that my spacing and my sizing is correct. I did cut this longer than it needed to be, so as you can see here, I'm wrapping around, and I'm just going to cut off any excess that I have so the trees aren't like overlapping. I do want this to meet up as seamlessly as possible. So I'm just going to take my scissors and cut off those excess little trees, and now we have something that is going to meet up at the seams. I'm taking a small piece of blue painter's tape to apply to one side of this wrap so that I can have a little bit of an anchor to help me apply this straight. So right now I'm making sure that everything is lined up the way I want it to go, and then I'm going to apply that painter's tape to that one end and then flip this over and start to push the backing away from the trees and apply them to my cup. So you can see here, this is exactly how I would do a vinyl wrap. And I did a little bit, cut off the backing and then tested it again just to make sure that it was going to be straight. And once I knew I was on the right track, I continued to apply the trees to my cup in that exact same way. I used the felt side of my squeegee to help me push those onto the cup. And once I got to the end, I made sure to remove the painter's tape before I laid those last couple trees down to make sure that we adhered them to the cup and not to the tape. So now I'm going to start the process of removing the transfer tape, which was, to be honest, a nightmare. And I think it is partly due to the transfer tape that I'm using. I am not a fan of this transfer tape. I'm just trying to use it up. But I also think that it's because of the powder coated finish on this cup. Vinyl is a little bit trickier to lay down on this finish. But don't worry, it's not going to lift or anything once we have epoxy on it. It's just a little bit difficult to get it to stick down initially. So I ended up just kind of going one by one, making sure the tree was stuck down and then lifting up the transfer tape and moving on to the next tree. So it was a little bit tedious, but it did go by kind of fast. I just was really careful as I went and everything turned out just fine. If you want to avoid this problem and you're using a powder coated cup like I am, you can do a coat of epoxy before you apply your tree decals and it'll likely not give you this issue because the trees will stick a whole lot better to epoxy than they will to a powder coated surface. But anyway, once I had my trees down, I did go in with a coat of epoxy, but this coat was very, very thin, and I just applied it to the glitter portion on the bottom to make sure that that was totally sealed in so we didn't get any glitter traveling up to that tree portion. So after that thin coat cured, I added another coat over the entire cup so our trees are sealed and smooth. And now I'm going to add this super cute blue truck with a Christmas tree. I found it on Etsy and I knew I had to add it to this design. There was a little spot on my cup where the trees weren't spaced out perfectly and I just seized the opportunity and I put the truck right there so you can't even tell. I'm going to spray seal this entire cup with a coat of clear matte spray from Rust-Oleum, and then I'm going to go right into another coat of epoxy. I want to make sure that this area where the glitter meets the vinyl, I want to make sure that's totally smooth before I go in and add my striping. So I did a coat of epoxy about 15 milliliters, and now I'm ready to add all of my stripe detailing. I'm using silver textured metallic vinyl from Cricut, and then I'm also going to use some striping tape from PDB. If you didn't know, PDB sells striping tape in all kinds of different colors. So I'm going to use the black and I'm going to use the thinnest size of the pack. So it's very, very thin, but it's going to add a little bit more detail to the striping. So first I'm going to take the silver textured metallic and I'm just going to go right on that straight line where the glitter meets the buffalo check. And I'm going to just lay it down and then roll my cup on my table and try to hold this as straight and as steady as possible. And really let my cup do all the work and just make sure that this is straight and not a wavy, wobbly line. Once I've got the vinyl down, I'm going to check it out, make sure that my lines don't look wobbly, and then I'm going to cut off the excess at the back and then go back in at the top and repeat the exact same process with that top striping line. And then I'm going to take this black striping tape. You can see how thin this is. It's like very, very delicate. And I'm going to lay it right in the middle of that silver stripe. And it's just going to kind of elevate the design a little bit. You don't have to add the second line on top if you don't want to. But I kind of liked how it separated the silver a little bit. And it just gives it kind of a different look than just a plain vinyl stripe. And then you want to just repeat that exact same process up at the top. And once you've got your stripes laid down, you are going to want to seal this with clear spray. You can use matte, gloss, whatever you want, and then you'll go right into epoxy. I added 2 final coats of epoxy to this cup, each about 15 to 20 milliliters. And when those were all cured, this cup is all done. So here is the final result. I really love how it turned out, and I hope that you do as well. If you liked the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you are subscribed to our channel so you don't miss any new videos. We are coming down the home stretch of this 12 Days of Christmas video series, and I've had so much fun, and I really hope that you guys are enjoying the videos. I'll see you guys tomorrow for day 10. Okay, love you. Bye.